Hi everyone, I'm Anna, a jewelry photography expert and the founder of an engineering approach to creative solutions. I work with European jewelers, helping them to establish their brands in the highly saturated premium market through visual packaging. I strongly believe that 90% of success lies in the communication between the photographer and the client. It is the quality of this communication that determines how the client will react to the cost of your services, how the pre-production process carried out, and this will determine the outcome and commercial success of the whole campaign, and whether the client will become loyal to you or not. Today, I want to share with you 5 typical communication mistakes that keep photographers from growing professionally. So let's move to number 1. The mistake number 1. You name the price but don't communicate the value. It is typical for any expert, because from your point of view, the matter and the value of your work are obvious and don't need any further explanations. But it is not so for your client. Your business client has his own problem and his own task he intends to solve with your help. And this problem doesn't sound like, I need high-end quality images with a turnaround of 24 hours shot in 100 square meter studio with a high-end gear. It sounds funny, right? But that's how 90% of photography offerings sound like. So, what your client really wants? More sales, big sales, business growth, brand awareness, brand recognition, and so on. Ask your client directly, what is the goal of the current advertisement campaign? Or which problems need to be solved right now? And listen to them carefully and offer your solution. After all, the client won't be willing to pay much for pretty images, but he will for solving the problem. The mistake number 2. You work without creative brief. Let me tell you one secret. I work without creative brief, the clients trust my taste, is a huge self-deception. In reality, working without creative brief means lack of competence. It means that no one takes responsibility for the outcome of the project. Usually, such a situation ends up with the client being dissatisfied, I didn't want it like that, and the photographer being annoyed. You didn't tell me anything. This is unprofessional. It means wasted time and wasted budget. Properly prepared creative brief prevents such a situation. How exactly? Besides the legal responsibilities, terms, and budget, creative brief includes also the goals of the campaign, its narrative, the brand concept, and any special wishes of the client. Also, an important part of the creative brief are the mood board, the reference board, and visual metaphors, the important aesthetical and communicational guidelines for the photographer. The creative brief defines limits and scope, what not to do, which props, lighting setups, or whatever are not appropriate, what not to do. Such an approach minimizes the misunderstandings between the client and the photographer. And by preparing a creative brief together with your client, you show that you are taking responsibility for the project and you are personally interested in its success. For this, your client won't mind paying more. The mistake number 3. You exclude the client from the process. You all probably know this joke. It is even printed on t-shirts. Let me tell you, if you came to learn to Photigy and aim for a high-end segment, such a mindset is terribly wrong. For the successful outcome of the project, the responsibility is always divided 50-50 between you and your client. Both in the pre-production process and the shooting process, the engagement of your client is essential. Here's a case from my experience. One jeweler has read my article about visual concept development and wrote me a message. He thanked me for the useful materials and said, "It's pity I didn't know this before. I have already wasted my money on the photography that didn't bring any result." As it happened, I know who made the job for him. And I also know that photographer couldn't do bad pictures. So what went wrong? It was a communication. So what happened? The client said, "I need pictures." The photographer came, picked up the product. After a while, he came back with the product and pictures done. The pictures were of good quality, but slightly different from the vision of the client. But on this stage, the client didn't feel any more comfortable to criticize or make any corrections, so he just accepted the work. It's not easy for everyone to share their opinions openly. So what can photographer do to prevent such a situation? Create a comfortable space to communicate with your client. Ask questions, but instead of "Do you like it?" offer a few options and ask which option do you like the most and why. Or another option, rate this image from 1 to 10. How does it fit your vision? And what would be a 10? During the shooting, drop on his phone some preview or screenshot and ask for his opinion. And be prepared to adjust your work in the process. Your client will be thankful and appreciate a lot this individual approach and attention. The mistake number 4. You agree to shoot as by name the brand. The question to those who shoot jewelry. How often do you hear, "Shoot it like Tiffany's"? Me, often enough. Why shouldn't you do this? Because replicating someone else's visuals always leave a wannabe imprint. And this is bad for the brand. The brand won't be taken seriously anymore. But sometimes the customer insists because he just likes so much these visuals. So what can you do in such a case? Ask the client about the details. What exactly does he like about this picture? Maybe it's a color or plot or angle or maybe highlights, reflections or whatever. Usually it turns out that actually the client likes one small detail and the rest is not important. This leaves you a freedom to create really unique visual concept for the brand. In this way, you can create imagery that makes your client be proud of his product and you of your work. And most importantly, this will dramatically increase the value of your work. And the last mistake, you agree to shoot something you don't like. Unfortunately, I hear often from my colleagues, "I didn't want to do so, but my client insisted, so I did it." What for? However, I understand why. Because you're afraid to miss the customer. After all, that's one and only client, and there will never be another one in your entire life. Sounds absurd, right? Yes, that's how absurd your fears are. Your fear makes you say yes where you should say no. The project that don't have your love and energy bring nothing to you or to your client. Try it differently. Allow yourself being not everyone's cup of tea. After all, uniqueness comes at a price. I hope the video was useful for you and you start right now fixing those communication mistakes that are relevant in your case. I wish you all a lot of success and professional growth, and see you soon. Goodbye.